Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Magic Tree House. And we are wide awake tonight with the wonderful, the one and only Miss Jo Gifford. Is it Miss or Mrs.?
Ms.
Or Ms. Jo Gifford. Jo, how are you doing?
I'm really, really good. It's morning here. It's 7 a.m, so I am wide awake.
Wide awake, bushy-eyed, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed,
Yeah.
as they say.
Yep.
So, how if you want to just introduce yourself to anybody that might be watching that doesn't, that may not have come across your work before. I came across your work via CAM, Autodidactic. That's how I
Yes.
came across you. But there might be people watching now who haven't come across you before. So please, I'm going to hand the floor over to you.
Okie doke. All right. So I'm a bit of an unusual person in that I've been a truther and a person on a spiritual path for about 35 years. I understood the truth about the world in my late 20s. I read Bill Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse when it first came out. I think it was around in 1992. And also read a transcript of a TV show that was shown one night and then they retracted it the next day, and it was called Alternative 3. So I've been aware of this whole sort of level of control around the planet for a long time. I was a prepper for a long time. I had food storage, etc., etc. And then I went into, at the same time, parallel path of spirituality, understanding myself. And I attended a Western mystery school or a Gnostic school for 18 years. And it's funny that we talked about Gurdjieff at one point. And hey, hippie.
Hey, hippie.
So we talked about Gurdjieff, and he uses the term the work, the great work. And the great work is the work that you do on yourself as an inner path and understanding. And so that's really been my main focus this life, much to the dismay of family members who think that I'm like, haven't amounted to much in their eyes of understanding, money, acquisitions and things. But mine's been on this inner journey of who am I and why do I see the world the way that I do. And the experiences that I had in that mystery school, that agnostic school, were really all to show us the program in a way, to show us the plight of humanity. And I left that school and returned to Australia and started my own healing practice. And I work with inner child healing, I do tarot readings, but I also speak light language, which for some people is a bridge too far. But I have this huge aspect to me, which is prepper, spiritual, truther, light language. And so I sort of straddle so many different areas. I love the flat earth community. I love the Tartarian community. So I've sort of got fingers in lots of different pies. But the light language is something that that is, as I said, a bridge too far for people.
Can I weigh in on the light language? Because actually, I mean, I'm always completely frank and honest with everybody. It was the light language that was making it difficult at first for me to listen to, to watch your videos all the way through, because what I came to realize after our conversation, because we had a fantastic conversation, I really enjoyed it was going to be like a healing, distance healing thing, wasn't it? You're healing the inner child, but it became something different when we were talking, I think, because I mean, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, and please don't be afraid to correct me if I'm wrong either, because I'm not that proud that I can't, if I need to be taken down a peg or something, then I'm absolutely take me down a peg. But I got the impression that you are happy that I've kind of already addressed this inner child thing, perhaps, like because of my experience last year speaking to my higher self, or rather my higher self speaking to me, and from after that experience for a good while afterwards, I felt like my inner child. I felt I remembered the 10-year-old boy that I used to be, and that was, and I allowed it as well. And I said, it's in my description on my YouTube channel, and I think and a couple of other places, where I say that when we were children, we wanted so desperately to be adults and have all the rights that adults have. But during our childhood, that inner child was beaten down and told to be quiet and shut up and sit back and go, "Psh, get out, you can't be a child. You can't be a child. You have to grow up and be an adult." And then we forget, when we're adults, that inner child is still there. It's been there the whole time. It doesn't go anywhere. In fact, it is actually part of you a lot of the time, and you don't realize it. You don't want to acknowledge it, and I think that's how and why childish traits come through in some people, but they definitely don't want to acknowledge the fact that that's their inner child. Because no, I'm a grown man now. What are you talking about? I'm 45 years old. So I realized that after our conversation, I was getting in my own way again, because two things I remember: when you're a child, you make up languages, and children can sort of understand what they're saying, even though it's complete gibberish that they're talking to each other. Parents can understand their own children, or people that spend a long time with a child can come to understand the child's own light language, and it is like a light language. But there's also the aspect that I've realized over the last couple of years, there's all these languages. And reading Gurdjieff, he spoke 8 languages, and they were old languages, that aren't really they're probably not even spoken anymore. So half the languages that he spoke, old Persian, and he spoke Arabic and Turkish, and I mean, obviously Turkish still exists, but there's all these different languages. And when you listen to somebody speaking in a different language, it sounds like gobbledygook most of the time. So I just sort of thought to myself, Rich, get out of your own way and just listen. Don't get triggered, and don't let that little voice that's going, she's just making it up on the spot or whatever. No, it's not. It's actually, and the last time I forget which video it was. It was the one that you recommended to me, and I'd actually already watched it. And when you were speaking in that, I took it completely differently. There was an understanding of kind of what was coming through, rather than the words, rather than listening to the words that are said, feeling the energy that comes through with those words.
Yes. Yeah. That's key.
Sorry, that was very long-winded, wasn't it? I'm sorry.
The inner child for me, when you're first born, that little being that comes out of the womb, and its consciousness and its energy, to me, is the closest, is very, very close to source or God or however you want to call the creator being. And that's your
Wherever
inner
that
world.
energies come from, wherever the energies come from to incarnate in that life. Yeah.
That's right. And we come in all fully open,
Mm.
experiencing unconditional love, wanting it, needing it. And because of the journey we're on, all of these layers build up over it.
Mm.
And the journey of the inner child is to look and feel every one of those layers. And those
Mm.
layers might be pain, they might be I'm not good enough, they might be poverty, whatever has built up over
Separation.
that pure essence.
Mm.
And so for me, it's important to establish that relationship with that childlike aspect of you, which is what you have done. And I recommend people sort of sit with their inner child in their mind's eye, that you
Mm.
create a connection, a dialogue, and get to know them. And if you can, again, suspend disbelief, oh, I'm only imagining it, it isn't. The imagination, as we know, is incredibly powerful. So you can do a huge amount of healing for yourself um, as you begin to get to know the inner child.
Yeah.
Have no requirements of it, but just to be present with it
And
in
no
a
judgment.
space that's beautiful. Yeah, you find a space in your mind's eye, you create that garden, you create that meadow, and you sit with your concept or your little you, however you think it is, looks like, and you just be present, which is what adults never did generally with us when we were kids.
Certainly
And
my parents never did.
well, no, it's because every parent is really being influenced by their own wounded inner child.
And distracted by the things that distract adults, the things that
Yeah.
are there to designed to distract adults. So that,
Mm.
I mean, I think that it's quite a what's the word, malevolent plot, basically, insidious malevolent plot to separate the connection between to break the family up. It's this idea of the controllers to break all the connections that we have so that we are completely isolated and alone, and then
Well,
we're
that's
more susceptible to fear.
yeah. Well, the Jesuits have a phrase: "Give us the boy till 7, and we'll give you the man for life." And what they know is they don't really have to do too much. All they have to do is keep parents busy, struggling in fear, and they will inevitably overlay their wounds on their child. And thus, this is why this stuff is generational. And if you never
Mm.
stop to contemplate or analyze and assess why you look at the world that you do, and how is that related to what you saw, felt, and heard as a little kid, you
Mm.
are destined to give it to your children, and it will continue down the line. And this really is the concept of emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? It's understanding your emotions. Now, I believe that everybody in the world is run by, or most people, I won't say everybody, but most people are run by an emotional 7-year-old. That around 7 years, we put on these glasses with filters in them, and we are
Mm.
looking at the world through that wounded 7-year-old's perspective, the one that's been layered up.
Mm.
And so all the times we look at something and react, who's really reacting? Who's really assessing? Who's really questioning the light language or judging the light language or tarot reading or channeling Ashtar, whatever we are judging, who's really judging it is that little child, because all of our prejudices and perceptions and concepts are really set in stone or embedded into us in those very early years. And what happens is we forget that we never actually chose this perspective. So if you talk to somebody that is racist, for example, they don't like a skin color or a religion, whatever.
Or culture, or
What, yeah, what they've never asked themselves is, did I always believe this? And if not, who told me? And the
why?
truth, yeah, little kids don't see color, little kids don't see religion or culture. They just see another little being to play with. And some adult overlays that this religion is bad or that color is bad. Now, the truth is, we're all like that racist in a way, because most people never question, why do I think having an education, like a university education, is better than, say, being a farmer? Why, who told us that? And that's a very broad example, but we have a lot of things that we have ideas about that we never chose.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what that I've found very encouraging is recently, in the last sort of week or two, I've noticed big influencers on YouTube who are more, they're definitely not woke, and they're not, they're not leftist or anything. They might still be stuck in the paradigms and still indoctrinated, but they're seeing what's going on. And do you know what? My cat's put a I've just lost what I was going to say. I've just forgotten what I was going to bloody say.
It'll
She's
come
meowing
back.
behind me. It'll
You
come
don't worry.
back. What did you just say? What did you just say? Because it was related specifically to what you just said.
Well, see, how I talk, when I talk, it's stream of consciousness. I can't remember what I
Same
say.
here. Same here. Oh, same here. I'm so glad you said that. Do you know
Yeah,
how
because
many times it
mm,
just, yeah, it's almost like, actually, who the fuck is Richie? Because all I am maybe is just a channel
mm,
to channel a consciousness, rather than, maybe that's what where the so that my ego has said, hey, maybe I'm just here to channel shit. The brain is a receiver, and I seem to
mm,
be receptive, and I'm definitely, I'm emotional. I'm extremely emotional, but I understand exactly what those emotions are, and where they come from, and where, and I can trace certain things back in my life to where, why. It's probably why that started, and that's probably why I'm like this, and I react in this way. And I've spent I've spent the last 20 years, just
mm.
reflecting and self-analyzing and self-critiquing all the time. I hope it comes back to me, because it was directly connected to what you were saying. What I did, there was something else I just wanted to say as well, though. You know where the Jesuits got that from, don't you?
No, where
Give me the
did they?
mantle of seven. They got it. It was either Plato or Socrates or Aristotle. I think it was Plato. I think it was Plato said, "Give me the boy till 7, and I'll show you the man." So
Yeah.
that's where they've taken it from the ancient teachings.
Yeah.
I Yeah, I wish I'd paid more. Well, it's not that I'd not even paid attention. I wish that I'd had those books presented to me when I was young, you know, and said, you should read this, and I would have sat and read it, because you do what you're told, and especially in school and stuff. And I think those are much more useful books to be reading than that's it. That's what I was going to say. The YouTube influencers are recognizing the fact that school is indoctrination. Actually, and what's his name? Theoria Apocalypse, I think his name is. He's the tattoo. He calls himself the tattooed monkey, and he's a very philosophical scientist. He calls out science all the time. But I think that he thinks that globe deniers are ridiculous, but I think that he just hasn't allowed his cognitive dissonance to, he hasn't sorted that out yet. He knows that the science community, most of what they talk is a load of rubbish. He said, what children learn is that school, public school or state school, is the worst place you could possibly put your children, and especially if they're intelligent. It's the worst place you can put them, because all the garbage that we're made to fill our brains with, all these facts and figures and trigonometry. Like, when has anybody ever used trigonometry in real life? Okay, there are certain trades that trigonometry might be useful in, so if you want to go into that trade, make sure you can then make sure you're going to learn about it. But the rest of us don't really need to. It's like we don't all need to know how the body's put together, because we don't all want to be doctors. So half the stuff that they teach, they don't need to teach. What they should teach is more about how to think, not what to think.
I think for me, we all know that the education system has been screwed with, and it really needs, totally dismantling and happening and restructured in a totally different way. We know this, and that's what we have to hold a vision for. But the education system has a very specific purpose, and it isn't about enlightenment at all.
No.
Yeah, Brian, first memories of going to school, always trauma. Yeah.
It's my first memories of school, I loved school. I can remember the first girlfriend I ever had when I was about 3 or 4 years old. Her name was Natasha. And then I got pulled out of that school and put into the private school, which I hated. It was hell for me. It was bloody horrible. I enjoyed some of the lessons, and I got on with some of the teachers, but I had no friends there. I was bullied. I was the poor kid. And but then secondary school, I made loads of friends in secondary school, and that's what secondary school was for me, because I'd already done the work in private school. I was already 4 years ahead of everybody, so I didn't need to do anything. I just, I didn't pay any attention. I just answered the questions, and it was all about what we'd watched the night before on TV. Every day at school was spent talking about what we'd watched the night before on TV. That's what school was, basically.
Yeah. Well, my first memories of school, I was taught by nuns for 12 years. So I was in Catholic school. And I remember vividly, we were going to have our first confession. So we had a nun come up and talk, and she had on the blackboard, she drew a big circle. And she colored it in, like with the chalk, and made it solid. And she goes, "This is your soul when you're born. It's bad. You are evil." I don't think she used the word evil, but I mean, she was using childlike language for us. But she essentially was talking about original sin. And she said, you go to your first confession, and she wiped it out. She erased all of the filling in, so there was just the circle left. So you go to your first confession and your soul is clean. And then you speak back to your father. She puts an X. You don't, you lie to the teacher. And she went through all the sins and put all these crosses. And then you've got this soul that is murky. So you've got to go back to confession again, and you erase it out. And my father was Church of England. And I remember my older sister coming home from school in tears one day, because she was told Dad was not going to go to heaven because he wasn't Catholic. And so my older sister was really worried for Dad. And that's that's the energy or the things that I learned when I was a kid, that I'm essentially bad and that humans are bad. So yeah, for me, there was a lot of trauma. I didn't really start to enjoy school until my last 2 years. And I found a great group of friends and we hung out. But we used to have a school principal that
Mm,
used to terrify the hell out of me in my first, say, 4 years in high school. She could just tear strips off you with her eyes. Um,
mm,
so yeah, school, all of those early things, those early experiences set us up on how we view the world and what we can achieve. Are we worthy of all of this stuff? And this
mm,
this is what I talk about, is that within us are two perspectives. There's the adult aspect that's gone to school, gone to university, or gotten married, gotten a job, can see a big wide world and knows what's possible and what's not possible. They can see this person has achieved that by doing XYZ, that if I do this, I can do that because I can see that other people have done it. So this perspective is the adult rational aspect. But inside
mm,
us is that wounded inner child. And that one has a huge influence on what we create, whether we realize it or not. And that wounded, layered inner child is influencing how we deal with our world. So you as the adult might think, I want this, but if this one, the little one, didn't believe it, it will be very difficult for people to create it, because you've got these two opposing concepts within yourself that are
mm,
often at odds, because it's a little kid who's told they're bad, or it's a little kid who's told they're not good enough, or it's a little kid who's told that the big brother is better than you. Your older brother is the favored one. So we get all these concepts that are at the foundation of who we think we are. And so I might say I'm fantastic and wonderful and lovable, but it's very possible that in an inner aspect, in that deep within that inner child, they don't believe it. And so you are in conflict within yourself. And the point of the inner child work is yes, to understand from the adult level, but also to understand and go in from those early experiences that are so influential in how we deal with things in our lives now.
mm. I mean, I had quite a. I I wasn't I wasn't privileged, like born with a silver spoon or anything like that, but I was privileged by being sent to private school and getting piano lessons and um, swimming lessons, being on this, having these opportunities to grow my character given to me all the time. And I did, scouts and air cadets and
Mm,
all of this stuff. And I had good friends, and I had a bad experience at private school, but I came out of private school, went into normal school, earned my respect when I went there. So I had a group of friends by standing up to bullies and stuff. And
mm,
it wasn't until my parents realized that they no longer had any control over me. Because as soon as they realized they had no control over me anymore, I was gone. They were like,
right.
get out, can't stay here, fuck off. Literally kicked me out on the street. Literally.
Mm,
And it was like, rah, just because I won't do shit your way, because I want to do what I want to do. I wanted to be a sound engineer working in the music industry. So took the first job, first opportunity I got, working as an apprentice sound engineer, working for a man that had previously produced hit records for, you know, big bands and the Stranglers, the Buzzcocks, Phil Collins. He actually started the Human League, and he wrote "Don't You Want Me," you know, and he basically started electronic music in the 80s and stuff. So he had, but he messed up, and he turned into a drunk old man in the end. He was no businessman, and he went bankrupt and ended up owing me a lot of money because he never paid me. And that was their whole argument with me, was I was working for him, but I couldn't pay rent to mum and dad because he wasn't paying me. We agreed he'd pay me £50 a week. So they said, all right, you pay us £50 a month. And I couldn't even do that. So they kicked me out after 6 months. They kicked me out. They were like, this is what would happen. This is what would happen in the real life. And, you know, I'm actually, it's cool because all they did, it was tough love. It was like, look, you want to be an adult, you want to do things your way. Okay. This is how it works.
Well, I was just going to say that, yeah, we've all had these terrible experiences. But for me, myself, I wouldn't be who I am today without all of those experiences.
Exactly.
So you have to come to peace with all of those tough things and good things with your entire life to this point, and say, you know what it was. I'm going to put it beside or behind me and choose from now to be different. Choose from now to look at the world in a different way. If that's, hey, Sonia.
Hey there, Sonia.
Yeah. So choose how you want to be now with love and care regarding what has happened to this point. Have compassion for yourself through all the things you've been through, and love yourself into the next phase.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. And that this sort of this ties in with what I say about, you know, as much as it's lovely to dream it, and people seem to think that it might be possible. As far as I'm concerned, it's absolutely physically impossible for us to go back in time physically and change things that happened.
Oh, I don't agree.
Right. I think I think it is. I think that the only thing, because what has happened. The only time that exists is now. And technically the only time that has ever existed is right now, because tomorrow is yesterday's today or whatever. You know, it's like free beer tomorrow in the
I know.
pubs, you know.
Yeah.
So what you can do though is you can look back and with your perception, with hindsight and your perception, and you can change the way you perceive what has happened. And so instead of thinking, oh my God, this has happened, and and if only this hadn't happened, and if God, if only this hadn't happened, then I would have been here. It's largely to do with how you feel about yourself in the moment now, what you actually think about yourself, your own self-esteem and value, self-worth. Like for me, I feel like I'm here to do something. I've been put here to do something, and the only reason that things are the way they are, and life has been the way it has been, is so that I am able to do this thing that I've been put here to do. And so I am only the man that I am today thanks to the things that have happened before. And if I hadn't experienced those things, I might not be able to cope with what's been going on today. I can only cope with what's been going on today because of all the shit that I've been through before. And it's like, well, actually, do you know what? In comparison to that, this isn't that bad.
Well, let me give you it from my perspective, because I have seen this. I take people through a process where they go back to the moment that the trauma happened. And and I have to tell you, the light language really wants to have a speak, but I'm holding it back.
Listen, don't. Well, I'm just going to say don't, Don't hold it back. If you
Yeah.
want to, like, because I'm really cool with it now. Okay, I've
Yeah.
actually gotten over myself about it, and I just say to anybody else, just don't be like, don't sit there judging. Remember what we've been saying, and just allow it. Just allow it, man. Because
Yeah.
if you get out of your own way, you actually might find something quite, quite a connection to what's been said. So sorry, I'll shut up.
No, it's okay. So we just said all of our experiences brought us to this point. So all the trauma, all the good and bad, whatever, has brought us to this point. And, I would say you and I and everybody in chat is probably more aware than the average person on the planet about truth, about who we are, where we're going, and everything.
We have
Self-
discernment. We
yes.
have the ability to discern things which other people don't seem to have.
Yeah. And that's using that awareness that we have right now. We can go back. Now, you know how people talk about temporal issues. So if you go back and do something to your grandfather, the grandfather paradox, then you won't be born. But my understanding is that you actually, if you go back, you create a new timeline. And that's the timeline you're on. So we've been through all of this, and we are here and now. And we have this awareness, this understanding, this open mind that says anything is possible. We've broken out of the box that we were raised in and used and controlled within. So when you go back in your mind's eye, now you say this is the only moment that is happening. Well, time is not linear. Time, everything in a way is happening now, and linear time is about this realm. So that sounds Japanese or Chinese, doesn't it? And I think some of the English languages come from those very early languages. And I'm just tapping into another aspect of me that is speaking that as my natural language. So when we in our mind's eye go into that moment of trauma and rewrite it, what I do with the people I work with, there is an energy that they feel here and now. There's an emotion they're feeling in relation to something that's happening in their lives. So I get them to use that like a cord, and you go back through your life as to when you felt this at different points. And you go back to the first time that you can remember feeling that emotion or that sensation. So it might be where somebody, like I had a client who had something wrong with her foot, and this is really simple, and her mum wouldn't listen to her, wouldn't believe her. And at such an early age, it made this woman question her own awareness. Do I really have, like a kid would go, do I really have a sore foot? Do I know what I'm talking about? This person who is, so influential, almost like God in my life, doesn't believe me, doesn't care that my foot is hurting. And so it makes that person question their own knowledge, question their own direction, and question and look at their powerlessness. Do they have power to get what they need, which is help in that moment for their foot? So that moment was the beginning of a powerlessness to get what she needed as an adult. And it comes from other areas, other lifetimes as well. But this was the moment that it was set up here. And what we did is, excuse me, I got her to bring back to that moment somebody that she relates to here and now, somebody that she trusts, somebody that she, like a mentor or a friend, etc. And you bring that person in, and you get that person to speak to your mother, to speak to the adult that is doing this, and say everything that you couldn't say as a kid. Because we didn't have the words. We weren't able to actually stand up for ourselves. When you're 3 and 4, if you try to speak the truth often, you're smacked or you're put in timeout or whatever, told not to be naughty or shut up or whatever. So you bring in an adult from your here and now, and you watch as the little you, those two people speaking. And your advocate speaks and says everything that you couldn't say. And you watch the face of your parent. I get them to watch the face of the parent. And does the parent get it when the adult is saying, you know what, she's just a kid. You have to look at her with more compassion or love, whatever the little kid, the adult as the little kid thinks that needed to be said in that moment to the parent. And so when you watch all the words spoken that you wished you could have said and see the light of awareness go on in the parent's face, and then the parent looks at the little you, the energy shift is profound. The energy shift goes from that moment and cascades through a timeline to here and now, so that you heal the energy that you are reacting to or having and feeling in relation to something that's happening in your life, because you went back to the original place that it was embedded in this life, encoded in this life, and you changed it, and you did it in a different way. You had somebody speak for you. You had somebody say the truth for you, and it cascades. So that moment of that child mum not listening to what was going on with her foot is happening now. It's another now. And when you, in your mind's eye, you have to realize how powerful we are in our imagination. And if you have memories of things that didn't go right, but it's brought you to here, absolutely, you can go back and you almost quantum leap to a new timeline where that is not a part of your energy system. It's a sort of an interesting concept because it's a loop, but you don't go back and change everything that made you who you are. You end up on a new timeline. Now, this is all quantum mechanics and all of that stuff, and some people don't believe in quantum mechanics. But
this is what I mean, though. This is what I mean by going back. You can go back and change your perception of what happened. And basically, that's exactly what you're doing. You have this. You go back in time to that moment, and you stand up for yourself.
And if you can't, you bring in an adult who can.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You can do it yourself, or you can bring in somebody that you have a connection with in the here and now, and that is as powerful as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Just a quick shout out to the chat room. We got 15 people in here: Hippie Shake and Red Eye Jedi and Fabio, Leafy, Squirrel Sniper, Sonia, Tree of Knowledge, Bane Bear. Good to see you again, dude. Brian Evans, One Love. Scroll through quick to see who's chatting. That's everybody chatting, I think. A few other lurkers in the background. So,
and Martin Haley. Hi, Martin.
Martin, yeah. Hey, Martin Haley, how you doing, man?
Yeah, Fabio, Lion of Tartaria.
Lion of Tartaria, good to see you, buddy. I haven't seen you in ages. Hope you're doing all right, man. Haven't seen you in bloody ages. Haven't seen you in the treehouse. Where have you been? Yeah, so you also do tarot readings, don't you? Because I'm really, my first tarot reading I got when I was about 24 years old. I got my first tarot reading when I was 24, and it was, I don't know, that she claimed to be a real Romany gypsy. I met her on the side of the road in the back of Beyond, and and had all the right paraphernalia and an original proper old Romany gypsy caravan that she was in. And I was in a particular place at the time, very, very, very dark. It was after my car accident. I was still recovering from my injuries, and I had all this stuff on my mind and on my heart. I had the whole car crash, losing my girlfriend and everything, the problem with my parents, just everything, all this stuff. And I went into her caravan and kept all of it very closely guarded, and I was like, if she is what she says she is, she'll pick it up, but I won't need to say anything at all. So she asked me what sort of reading I wanted, and whether, if it was bad or whatever, did I want to hear it? And I said, I just want to hear, I wanted the truth. I don't care what it is. I just want to hear, where my life is going, basically. And what she said was, it's weird, isn't it? I was in such a bad place at the time. What she told me, I was like, yeah, that's just a load of rubbish. She just told me a load of rubbish, basically, to just make, just platitudes, whatever. Like, yeah, everything's going to go your way. You're going to achieve everything you want to achieve. Everything's going to be great, basically. And I just thought, wow, you don't know anything. But really, she's not been wrong. She's not been wrong. It's been difficult. She said it would be a difficult road, but you'll get there, basically. It's going to be a very difficult road, but you'll get there. And she did point out an issue with my mum, between me and my mum.
Well, most people think that tarot readers predict the future. And I have a different viewpoint of tarot reading. I'm not a tall, dark, and handsome, winning the lottery type of tarot reader.
No.
I'm really just telling you where you are, and it's all connected. Mine is always all connected in with the inner child, with your perceptions, and why is your life the way that it is. As far as the power of our mind and our thoughts is, you can go and see a tarot reader or a psychic or clairvoyant, whatever, and they will tell you X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And if you believe them, you walk out and you believe it, and it's in your energy system as a believer. It will bring it to you. But if you talk to somebody who goes, oh, that was rubbish, that was nothing, and you believe them and do that, then everything will be different. This is why, if you get a good tarot reading or a good clairvoyant reading, don't tell anybody, hold on to it, because things come up to help you doubt it. And when you begin to doubt it or question it, it will definitely change, and your reality will reflect that change in you. So for me, it's about showing where you are now, because how you are now and the energy that you are sitting in and living in and the perceptions
will determine what's coming.
Exactly. And so when you begin the analysis and you see yourself knee-jerk reacting to situations like Ukraine and Russia, or like Trump and Biden, when you see yourself having an emotional reaction, if you can turn and look at it where did this come from in terms of the inner child experiences, you then understand what's operating in your life, why things come. And that's one of the biggest awarenesses I think people have to happen, is that our thoughts are really powerful, and you have to take responsibility for your thoughts, take responsibility for your emotions. That's got nothing to do with Trump and Biden. It's got nothing to do with Ukraine and Russia. It's got to do with what are you living in? What are the energies you're living in? And I always say you have to be more interested in your reaction to what's happening than what is actually happening. Because in terms of a spiritual evolutionary path, what we're doing here, we're here to understand ourselves and to transmute energy systems that no longer suit us, to transmute these systems that were sort of set up and reinforced by these controllers for reasons that we understand. So I'm clearing some energy for some people who are watching, who are feeling this stuff right now. And it's not just people in the chat, it's people who will be watching in the future. So I can feel an energy. If I wanted to, I could feel into each person's energy, but there's a collective energy of the people who will be watching this. And as we know, time, distance, or space, no, time is not linear. So I can feel there's something to be cleared. And I would say it's things like resistance to what I'm saying. Or disbelief or anger even at what I'm saying, because people argue for their limitations is the way that I've heard it. We argue for our the things that hold us back, and that's how we're trained to be. That's how we're conditioned to be as we get older. So it's to have, in a way, a wide open mind that becomes the observer of our human condition. What are we reacting to? What are we triggered to feel in certain situations, and why? And when you begin the observer space, when you activate the observer on what is happening in your world and in your life, you begin the transmutation of the energy that is in your inner child. And the other name for your inner child, and I've focused on inner child because it's to do with this reality. It's to do with how it's all gets set up here. But the other name for your inner child is your unfinished business from your past lifetime. So you have issues. It's like a school. We're here. I mean, again, people don't like to hear this. People say, why would I want pain? Why would I want this? Why would I want trauma? Well, the thing is, we've been in it for so long that there is a specific way to step through it and come through it and come out the other side.
There is no growth without pain.
Well, we will get
to a point grow.
That isn't true. We will get to a point where that isn't true, I believe.
I believe that, but I think in the, with what's been going on, I think part of our journeys pain has been necessary for us.
Yes.
Maybe not for everybody, but for us, it's been necessary. And different degrees of pain, different amounts of it coming at different times, and sometimes all of it coming at once. Nothing has ever been given to us that we cannot handle. It's all happening to make us stronger, to make us as strong as we are, to basically help us fulfill our potential, I think.
Well, again, Okshiagongia Batia Chet Sokoyatia Naki Kumbande Jet Sakataria Sheshasha. Sukaria dia Bakondaria Shetiki Ezikandara, Shikundaria Kungamba, Tia Jikotaria Stishti Shenaka. Pain is a part of this realm, and it isn't going to It is a factor or a feature of polarity, which is where we are in this right and wrong, um, good, bad, polaric world. That when we continue to process the heavy emotions, process the grief, rewrite our past in our mind's eye, etc., we change our frequency, and what comes to us will be different. And we will move, I believe, out of this pain, because it's a feature or it's an aspect of this polaric reality. So this is like a school, and we are going through the grades each lifetime. Now, the controllers have held us back in the one grade for years, thousands of years. The controllers have held us in a way in the first three levels. Now, first three chakras, the first three energy centers, which is all to do with what people call 3D, which is to do with
Which is
limitation.
fear,
Yeah, fear, pain,
jealousy, and
comparison, judgment,
yeah,
tyranny, victimization. Now, the heart center is the bridge. The heart center is the bridge, is love. And when you find love and compassion for all the experiences of the first three chakras, and love for yourself and for others, and compassion for what everybody's going through, good and bad people, we then move up into the higher energy centers.
yeah.
And they're beyond
Chris
polarity.
Thrall talks about this with his pyramid. He always, Chris Thrall, he's an ex-Marine, and he's big on this. He always brings the pyramid out and says, right, you know what's going on here, right? No, this is operating down here in these lower chakras, you know, and we want to get up here to this
Yeah.
enlightened
Well,
place.
my model of reality is the form of a pyramid too. That was the model that I was shown. And that point zero is the top, which is God, which is source. And we went through involution. So we de-evolved. We went down to a point of polarity for this experience. And now
Yeah,
we're coming up the other side
yeah,
through all of these levels. And so,
yeah.
from a specific level, there's purposeful good to all of this. And that's a conversation for another time about how we are contributing to a knowledge base, like a galactic encyclopedia. So every time one of us has an experience and understands it and gains the wisdom of it,
It's
that is
logged in the ether.
logged in this encyclopedia. And
Yeah,
so there are beings who didn't come down to this polarity. There are beings who were not brave enough or not willing or wasn't their thing to do. But we are here and we are logging polarity into that encyclopedia. And so that the people that didn't make the journey can actually pull out that book metaphorically and read the chapter on
yeah.
polarity, and they will feel the energy, they will feel the emotions, they will get it in one moment and go, that's what polarity is. And it'll add to their knowledge base, and off they'll
Do you
go and
know,
do something else.
I agree with you, but I I think that every sentient living entity has at some point in its existence to experience life here on earth, and that perhaps it acts as like a brochure, you know.
That's
it's
possible.
it's almost like a brochure for them to, like, wow,
Yep.
crikey, this looks like absolute hell. I think I might want to go and experience this for for 100 years or so. But yeah,
Well,
I mean, I do, I agree. Basically, on the basis of it, I agree absolutely. It's and I think personally, I think everything that's happened here, everything that happens here, everything that has happened here, and everything that will happen here, you can call me a fatalist, but it's like in a similar vein, it's like everything that could possibly happen within this realm is going to happen.
Mhm.
and we're going to be part of it, you
Yep.
know. And it's just whilst we're in this realm, but this
Well,
realm isn't the be all and end all. I think there is a plan for this realm. I think there's a larger plan for this realm.
yes. It is there. I always try to say this at this level. What we're
Mm.
going through is shitty. What we're going through is horrible, and we've got
It's
wars. We
dense.
know what's
It's because
happening
it's
to
so
the
dense,
kids.
isn't it? It's because
Yes,
it's so
but
dense and heavy down here.
yeah, it's the polarity. We're as far away from source as you can go here, energetically and experientially, and it's a journey, as I said, that not every entity or being wanted to take. But on this level, it is tough and hard and awful. But if we are going to move through and out of this place, we have to move up to the place of the observer. So we observe all of this at time. We must spend time in here going, that's awful, that's horrible, it shouldn't be happening. But we also have to come up here and go, okay, what's the bigger picture? We are gaining information about this. We are finding compassion for all aspects of the spectrum. Shukayungopa kokia chia zikinda ganjanda. Shukadiri shishe shushakoya tian zakamakaka. Kiki gangambandia susa. Now, this being is saying, and that's why I'm laughing, I think, is that there is some people that call this a game, that we're
Mm.
actually in a simulated game, like, Space Invaders or whatever you want to
I,
call it.
I kind of subscribe to that a little bit, you know. Part of me does subscribe to that.
Well, I think it is like a game, but there is just like in Space Invaders, you end up with a score at the end, like
Mm.
and so you gain a mark out of
It's an
something. There is something we're learning. So yes, it might be like a game, but there is
But there's an
something we're
opportunity to grow as a result of it. There's an opportunity for your consciousness to expand as a result of it.
yeah, and being victimized by what we're going through and not being able to pull out and observe what we're going through isn't going to help where you are. It isn't
No.
going to help you move through. Um, Finding the observer and going, you know what, that horrible person. Like I said this before that Queen Elizabeth died, and everybody's saying, good riddance, give her a kick and whatever, whatever. But as a child, imagine what she went through. How
Yeah.
she
Oh,
she
gosh, yeah.
what she would have gone through, and
Ev
so it's to
Everybody's
be
lost
able,
all compassion. It's have
yes,
some compassion because she's only where she is now because of, it wasn't her fault. Well, maybe she did ask to be born into that, into that.
would
But
have. She would have on a sole basis. But
right.
this whole thing, this whole realm was in a way it hijacked, and
Mm,
that it did get out of hand. But that is now my understanding is I was told the experiment, that's the other way to define what we're in, beside a game or a simulation. It's an
mm.
experiment that is now coming to an end. And we've learned everything about the polarity situation that we need to learn.
And duality. The
Duality,
duality. Yeah.
exactly. And so we've learned everything, and there's no more to be learned because we've been it all and done it all. And that's the other thing. I used to get cranky, but then I would say, you know what? I've probably been the other side of the coin. And I had a really interesting understanding once. I worked for a woman that treated me very bad. And I worked for her for about 5 years. And as a spiritual person, as somebody interested in this stuff, I thought it was about finding self-love, and it doesn't matter what she says. I know who I am. I love myself. I'm not going to let anybody define me. And I would go through all of this in my mind and do processes. And when I finally left, it was told to me that, or what prompted all of this to fall apart was it was told to me that in another life I was her, but even worse. I was a bigger than she was to me, and that I had let people die on my property. I didn't care that their living conditions were awful. And so I was living the other side of the coin to feel what it was, and had somebody that didn't respect me, somebody that didn't treat me well, didn't treat me like an equal. And that was such a wake-up call to understand that concept. And within 2 weeks, that entire job dissolved because I got it. It took me 5 years to understand that I was experiencing what I had been to other people in other times. And in these however many, I don't know how long we've been in this dualistic experience, this dream or this experiment, thousands of years, millions of years, billions of years, I'm not quite sure, but we've been everything. We've been the worst human being, and we've been the best human being, and we've been all parts within it. And so this is the compassion we have to get. We have to say, what is it? There but for the grace of God go I.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have never walked in your shoes. So this is how, these are the thoughts we have to pull out and observe it. And when we know all of this is horrible and awful and very dense, so if we, with our mind, which is incredibly powerful, send negative energy to somebody, send judgment to some situation, all we're doing is adding to the negativity or the heaviness. Whereas if you send least awareness or allowance or compassion without condoning it to the situation, you have a positive influence on that, much more than you ever have at fighting it and railing against it.
Can I expand on that? I absolutely agree. The mind is incredibly powerful, but so is the heart. And one of the teachings that comes through in more than just Christianity is if your heart and your mind are agreed on something, then it's it's more likely to manifest. If you're having bad thoughts about somebody and you're feeling that, you can sit there and have a bad thought and not attach to that thought. But if you attach your emotions to that thought, it's going to be so much more powerful. And and so it's only going to, like you say, it's only going to strengthen whatever, or basically enhance or expand on whatever negativity is already there. You're just making the situation worse. You're not making it any better. And you could say, oh well, you can't just sit here and wish everything to be better and it'll be better. What if we all sat, if like 1,000 of us all sat in a group, and all of us without fail sat there and had nothing but good thoughts about something and felt it in our hearts as well? What if that actually was, the difference between something going down this timeline or going down this timeline?
Exactly.
And when I've been saying for a while, I've been saying for 4 or 5 years, hashtag we write reality. Our perception is the key to reality. That's why they've worked so bloody hard for our entire lives, the entire lives of our parents and their parents before them, trying to control our perception of what has happened and what is happening and what is going to happen. They want control of our perception of everything. And because they're losing control of our perception now, that's why they're coming in with all the draconian 1984 censorship, because they're losing control of our perception, because we're actually individually, we're taking control of our own perception, where we're finding our own discernment and trusting it. And discernment, I think, only comes through a connection to source or a connection to your soul, which has already done this. and knows kind of what the plan is. So, you know, and when you get that, when you feel like you just know something and it turns out, wow, well, look at that. I was bloody right. I wasn't just right, I was spot on when everybody else thought I was wrong. But no, because I knew here, not just here, they both agreed with each other. Yep.
Yes.
You know?
Well, part of the way that we have been controlled as well is to disconnect, as you say, the heart and the head. And we've been living in the head through analysis and comparison, etc., rational beings,
Mm.
etc. And that's part of who we are. But we lost sight of connecting with a deeper knowingness within us, the heart center, which actually is a portal to point zero, portal to Christ consciousness, however you want to say. So what is it to be a human? Yes, we have a brain. We utilize our brain and we think and we analyze and assess, but we're only doing that. And how we're moving through this into where we're going is to find the connection, as you say, with the heart again. And this brain is there to keep us safe. This brain is there to keep us maintain the status quo so that we don't get kicked out of the cave by the tribe and eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So we've been living in the Piscean age all through the head, doing.
Not just through the head, through the male hemisphere as well. They've
Yes.
wanted us to live through the male hemisphere, and really the female hemisphere has been belittled or discounted or kind of, you know, pushed off into the woo woo. Well, you know, artsy fartsy. That's all your left brain woman stuff, you know, and emotional. And no, you got to be practical and you know, logical, practical, from A to B to C to D.
Yep.
And that I think is linked to the desecration of the divine feminine, you know,
And we're
that came through the
going
Catholic Church.
we're going into the age of Aquarius, which is feminine, which is
Yeah,
being as opposed to doing. And you're right, the
right.
Catholic Church, you know, none of the religions really. I think most of them don't see women as being equal, as being
Mm.
able to what's the word? You know, they can never be the intermediary between you and God.
No, it's always the man. It's a patriarchal, yeah.
Hmm.
And I
So,
think that links. I think that links to what Jason said about the, you know, like in the um vapor canopy times, right, when there was
mhm,
no sun, it was a lunar calendar. They counted the lunar days. It was a lunar calendar, and I think it's all linked. You know, when the sun appeared, and then it became a patriarchal society. Everything
mm,
became patriarchal, and then they basically. I think they still in those times still had a connection to the divine feminine. There was a bit more understanding of what was going on, but
mm,
the Catholic Church and Islam and Judaism have all really belittled the woman and
mm,
made her role insignificant in spiritual, in spiritual terms. When if you look into the older theology and stuff, this male and female connection, it's male and female is yin and yang in this realm. It's duality. It's duality personified in material form, in a
it's a facet of the polarity or the duality that we're living in. In
yeah.
my model of the universe, we as fractals of source went through this exploration of being whole. And around visible light, so we came down through infinite unknown, uh, through gamma, through
Mm,
X-ray, ultraviolet blue. And at ultraviolet blue, that was the last place that we were whole. And in visible light is where the Big Bang happened. And it is where we split into negative and positive. And men have a positive charge and women have a negative charge. Then we move down infrared into Hertzian, and where we are is at the bottom of the pyramid, and that's Hertzian for me. This is this far away. And so we've been living in this split, negative and positive, even within, as you're saying, between male and female. So how do we, in this journey back to wholeness, what we have to do is within the female, develop our male aspect equally, and in the male, we develop our feminine. It's not that we have to wait to find our other half to move up. Sometimes you do meet them because you are both on a journey back to wholeness, but it's not necessary. It's really developing the other aspect. So for women, this is why you find some women now at the moment sort of being, they go to the opposite end of the spectrum and get a bit, I can't really explain it. We've been here for so long that what a lot of women are doing is coming and going over to the far other aspect. And when we've experienced both ends, we will come back to the center. And I think it's the same. I think it's the same for men, that they've been here and now they're coming over here, and eventually we'll find halfway. We'll find that middle road. Kukiambati sukataria shianaka, kikebiachie susise saka, korete kumaka, jiat sakariacha, uzeandariaka. So actually, in response to Sonia's comment, they are so afraid of women becoming what they once were, the powerhouses of the mind. Men were afraid of women because in their mind, women were closer to God, because women create life. And that was very terrifying for men on a very deep level. And this is, maybe not much now, but when this split or this pushing down of women happened, it was because of that.
Yeah, I'm reading W.J. Perry's The Children of the Sun at the moment, which is all about the migrations of the archaic peoples, and the peoples that came after the archaics. He's basically tried to trace civilization, and the movements of the migration of civilization and the development of civilization. And he's been talking about Tahiti and the Fijians and the Samoans and the Maori and where their roots come from and their culture, the roots of the culture. And in all of them, it's priestesses. It's not priests, it's priestesses. So that, it used to be recognized, it used to be respected. There was a time when the men decided they were going to try and take it. So when was that? I see it being really, I think the Roman Catholic Church has got basically everything to do with this. I think the Roman Catholic Church is responsible for Islam. Personally, I feel that Islam basically it was the Jesuit priests that actually created Islam.
They all had
a bad guy.
Yeah, so Judaism, Catholicism, Christianity, and Islam have all the same root, have the same from the same place.
They're all talking about the same God. They're just arguing about the people that come after. It's ridiculous, I mean, all three recognize Jesus Christ, but he's respected in Islam as a prophet, and he's denounced and denied by Judaism as a false prophet.
But again, so I think that there have been periods where women have been, where it's been a matriarchal society as opposed to patriarchal. I think in this, however many billions of years, thousands of years, we've had up and down, switching between both, because again, it's a part of the duality, and we are coming now back into balance. Instead of it, women being better and men being worse, and men being better and women being worse. This up and down, we are now coming to here, finally, is where I think we're coming. And everything we've been through, all of the persecution of women, all of the everything, all the religions, is a part of that encyclopedia now. And that's the idea of how we've got to move through here. It is to find within our heart and soul a way to embrace this, what we've all been through, and find this higher perspective. That's the only way, I believe, to move through and to keep us moving forward in this evolutionary path. So it's to acknowledge it, but to not think that it's any better or worse than anything else that we've been through on this planet, on this plane, on this realm.
And that, I think, once again, that basically is the root of that is how you perceive yourself and everything that's happened and what's going on. It's about your perception. So, and that basically reflects on just how powerful we are. It not just as a collective, but individually, because they work so hard. And if we go off as errants and say, no, I don't agree with that, they do their bloody best. If they can't bring us back into the flock, then they try to just make things so bad that we want to take the easy way out. Or, it's either join us or die. It's basically join us or die. We can't kill you, but we'll try and make you kill yourself by making everything in your life go wrong,
Yeah.
Because I think that I mean, I know we bring a lot of it on ourselves. We bring an awful lot of it on ourselves, but I think there is an element of because of where we are now in reality, in the timelines, there's an element of being targeted. Because, those of us that are doing this, like I said to you, we can't hide. We can't hide. They've always known who we were, even before the technology to be able to track us. They knew who we were and where we were because we're shining. We got the truth inside us and it's shining out like it wants to get out.
So just like everything else is a mirror, there's a part of you or anybody that feels that they're targeted that is creating being targeted. There's an aspect of you that possibly was persecuted in another lifetime, in another now, and you never owned it. You went to your death victimized by being targeted by whomever. So what happens is you have that issue left to resolve. So you come in and end up living a life where you're essentially having the same experience, a slightly different scenario. So how do you change the fact that you are being targeted or feel that you're being targeted? Deal with how you feel about it. Deal about the victimization or the powerlessness or the fear or the terror or the anger or the whatever it is you feel about being targeted. When you process that energy of it and you look it in the eye and you breathe it and you feel it, from the observer state. So you don't get angry at the people that are targeting you. You don't say they shouldn't be doing this. You don't say they're bastards or anything like that. You go, this is showing me something about me. I have within my energy signature this emotion, this, that is affecting and creating this to come to me. So as you feel all the emotions, you transmute and change your energy signature, and your targeting will take a different form, or it may drop away altogether. Every part of your energy signature.
Right. Yeah. You're not saying you're not targeted. It's not, it's in your mind kind of thing, and you're making these things happen. It's like it's actually it's happening. You are targeted because you're putting out a signal saying, I want to be targeted. I want to be
Exactly.
targeted.
level,
Right.
because being targeted is how you're defining it here, but you might have lived in another now where you were a dissident or you were a radical, and
Mm.
the government of the time chased you down and killed you for daring to speak out. So it's the latest scenario is the TI. So when you process all the emotions that you feel, because in the core of the emotions is energy. Emotions are energy in motion.
Energy in motion. Yeah.
So when you process the emotions, when you turn and face them, instead of pushing them away, or instead of moving into looking at doing something else, say putting out a new video or going and marching on the street, whatever it is, if you go within and see how you feel about being targeted, take that observer status, start breathing and feeling it, you are transmuting and alchemizing that part of your energy signature that still has to resolve being targeted, whatever that base or that core emotion is, core energy is. And as you feel it and breathe it, you are altering and morphing your energy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, without you doing anything, their lens will go and find someone else for no good reason, except that you've looked at the emotion and the energy at the core of it. It might shift and change, it might happen by degrees, or it will totally disappear from your life.
Mm.
So on
Yeah.
this level, it's awful being targeted. In this level, it's awful having these experiences. Absolutely it is. And you honor, that's the deal. You honor what you're going through. You don't poo-poo it. You don't like say, oh, I'm so stupid that this is happening or anything like that. You don't say it's unfair. You sit here and you do that for a bit, but then to change it, you come up here and you go, okay, what's the big reason? What's the reason this is happening? What's within me that isn't healed? And when you even if you can't help but being down here in, rolling around in this stuff a lot, if you can at least allow for the potential that there is another way to look at it, you
Mm.
begin the alchemization of the energy that's in your signature that you are emitting.
Yeah. This has been great. This has been great. I've been
Whew,
watching the comments and everything, and this has been a great conversation, Joe.
it's gone
Really, really
totally
appreciate
where
it.
didn't go where I thought it was going to go. It's been really good. I'd love to
Where
do
did you
this again.
think it was going to go? Where did
Well,
you
more
think it was
about
going to
inner child, but we've talked about a lot of stuff. This has been fantastic. This has been really
go?
good.
See, I don't like. I've never liked it. I don't, when I play live, when I perform my music, I've never liked writing set lists out. I like it to be organic on the spot, in the
Mm,
moment, everything. And I like that with conversations. I like conversations to be completely organic and just go where they're going to go. And
mm,
because then if you digress, it doesn't matter because it just takes the conversation somewhere else. And it's whereas if you're, I mean, it is good sometimes. It is good to have certain things that you want to, maybe you want to communicate. So you set questions so that you get,
mm.
what the answers are you're going to get, or you have an idea of what the answers are that you're going to get. But no, I like organic. I really like organic.
Mm, mm.
Um, have we got any questions in the chat room? We've been going for an hour and a half. And do you know, I can go for like this. This has to be my last stream on StreamYard because this is like my last hour. But they don't shut the stream off. And the last month, I managed to get 27 hours for free by just continuing over, and I just didn't shut the stream down for 7 hours. So I don't know how long I'm going to keep this one going tonight, but we don't like if you've got things to do. I don't know how long you've got, to chat.
What is it? It's now 8:30 in the morning. I can't stay on too much longer, but if anybody's got any questions, stick them in the chat now, and I'll see if we can answer them. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that somebody's going to have some questions for you, because I know Hippie Shake is a big fan of yours. So I'm sure she might have a question. And Fabio, the comment from Fabio, he's understanding you when you're speaking in light language, and he's really
Fabio, how do you understand light language? Where does it come? Do you get do you grok it? You get an instant understanding, or do you actually interpret each aspect of it? Let's see if Fabio is still on and can hear that.
Somebody's at my door. One second, somebody's at my door.
Just having a look. I see and feel it in pictures and temperatures. Yes, people feel the language. Some people feel it like a warm hug. Some people, it warms their heart. Other people, actually, it makes them tear up because there's a soul recognition. So some people don't feel it at all, and that's okay too. But I think the point of the light language is, as we've talked about, we've been generationally programmed over and over and over through the 7 year. And so when I'm talking to somebody, if what I'm saying is outside the bounds of the box of that learning, it just bounces off. So the light language circumvents the resistance. The light language goes beyond the ego, goes beyond the brain, and drops into your system. And it actually adds to your energy. It's incorporated into your energy, so that what you emit incorporates the knowledge in the light language, the frequencies of the light language, and the world will begin to bring to you different things because of the energy of the light language being incorporated into your energy signature, if it's what you wish to do. If you are open, if it resonates and you allow the language in, it will supplement and change and add to your frequency, and the world will begin to show you experiences, bring to you things that talk about or reflect that knowledge that you've absorbed.
We'll take if there's one or two more questions, but I am going to have to wrap it up. I've got to go and I have to go and talk to somebody. Yes, JP, it always is, man. Like, it always is.
Leafy's asked a question.
Leafy, go on, mate.
I had so many deja vu situations. Are they dreams, or have I been here before? I've been places I've never seen before in this reality, but I have seen them. Yeah, we are multidimensional. Like, I'm sitting here as Joe right now, but I'm actually existing in many other nows, in many other dimensions, frequencies, past history, future history. And this is where my consciousness is anchored in this moment. So there is a part of me that understands, for example, when I speak light language, that I'm not really channeling it from anyone else. It's just another me in another now. It's just some me that was speaking that language that is connected to me. It is me, but I'm living in some other dimension. So we are picking up, deja vu for me is picking up another me living in another now, or picking up myself, a place that I've been in the future, or a place that I've been in another parallel reality. So I believe it's because we are multidimensional. We are picking up. And the thing is, as our frequency rises, as we transmute these heavy energies that we've been living in on a hamster wheel for a long time, we will begin to be able to tap in to us in the future, and tap into us as a light being, or tap into us as a 10th dimensional being, or tap into who I was when I lived as, say, a Pleiadian, or as a Alpha Centaurian, however you want to see it, whether, flat Earth stuff. But I don't have the answer to flat Earth or globe Earth, really.
Oh, I
Because
don't think any of us.
well, I think in some realities it's flat, and some realities it's round.
But I mean, I say that because each of us, because our own thoughts and our own perception is so powerful and so important. I live in my version of the universe and my perception of reality, and you live in yours, and everybody lives in their own version, and that in itself means that there is a universe here, there's a universe with you, there's a universe with every single one of these people. They are parallel universes, they are parallel realities. It's all happening now, and it's all happening here. And while we're all interacting with each other, our parallel universes are bleeding into each other and intersecting and agreeing or disagreeing, or whatever. It's just, what I think that's what it's all about. It's realizing this. I think that's what this is all about as well. Part of it is about realizing this.
Yep.
This is what's going on.
To live in an opened state of not discounting or judging anything, but going, you know what, I don't have the answer yet. I'm going to be open to whatever comes and take it in the moment. Deal with it in the moment. Feel it and look at it. Wow, this is interesting. But the minute you shut the door, it just doesn't. You sort of stop everything moving forward. Can light language help special needs children? Absolutely. It will help everybody. But as far as special needs children, their journey is perfect. Their journey is one they chose, and they are learning a very specific lesson that we can't even conceive. So feel compassion for the special needs children, for their bravery at taking on such a journey. They
remember,
are
and you yourself may have taken that journey, in a different life. You might have actually, and maybe that's what that is. Why some people are really drawn to help people with special needs. Some people are really have an aversion to people with special needs, and it could all be linked to an experience that they had in a lifetime previously, where they either had special needs or they had somebody in their family with special needs. It's yeah. Listen, I'm gonna have to go. Yeah, Joe, it's been I'm going to try and look you in the eye. You're over there, but it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'd really like to do this again. It's gone down well. We've had good viewers tonight. Like 22 people watching is good for my channel. So,
well, if anybody wants us to do it again and has some questions, leave them in the comments and we will look at it again. This has been a really juicy discussion.
Good. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, so thank you very much. And to the chat room, thank you very much. I'm really sorry I've got to cut it short, guys. But yeah, much love to everybody.
So much love to the chat. To chat. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, and I'm gonna play you out with a little short video, and I'll see you all soon. I'm gonna be back tomorrow to do more Children of the Sun, read more Children of the Sun, and also I'm gonna do a stream. I'm gonna do a panel tomorrow, but we're gonna do it on Restream because I will have used up all my hours on. Well, yeah. After this, I won't be able to do it again on.
And I'm doing a live.
Oh yes. You're doing your live next week on Monday, isn't it?
Monday morning for me, but it's Sunday afternoon for the United States. So if you have a look on the on my channel, which is Joe Gifford, well, there's a link below. Have a look, and I'm going to be doing lots of light language transmissions, card readings, just chat generally about stuff. So if you want to join me on Monday, Sunday, I'd love to see you there.
Hippie Shake has put a link in a couple of times, and I'm just going to get your channel up and put a link to your channel in the chat, and I will put there. I just checked, there isn't one in the description, but I will put one in the description as well for anybody that's watching on a replay.
Oh, thanks so much, Richie. This has been amazing.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. And yeah, to the chat room, much love. Here's a link to the channel, and I'll see you guys soon. All right. Let me find me video. Peace.
The higher you build your barriers, the taller I become. The farther you take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no, something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. Jericho, our lies will come tumbling. Deny my place and time, you squander wealth that's mine. My light will shine so brightly it will blind you, 'cause there's something inside so strong, so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no, there's something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Brothers and sisters, when they insist we're just not good enough, but we know better, just look them in the eyes and say, we're gonna do it anyway, gonna do it anyway. Something inside so strong, and I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. Oh, that my pride was gone. Oh no, there's something inside so strong.